About 20 years ago, I was a sales engineering supporting sales reps at Deutsche Bank Tech Company, DTC. A new sales manager joins the team. He was a former coworker from a prior job. A petty little man. Prior we were peers. Now he was a manager over the sales reps I supported. I had a separate chain of command. He was not my manager, but felt he should be. He was resentful of the power that sales engineers in this new company had. In an attempt to show me up, he closed a very large deal with a banking company, ABC, and did so without any involvement from the sales engineers, just one sales rep. He gloats about it publicly, talks about how we don't even need sales engineers, the whole 9 yards. Later, the manager calls me in a panic, and we talk with the customer. The sales rep and the rep sales manager totally fucked things up and sold the customer an incompatible set of solutions. I say that the customer could exchange one bit of stuff for another bit of stuff. Everything would work, and they're roughly the same price, so nobody would lose any money. But the sales manager doesn't want to do it, because admitting he fucked up would make him look bad. And he bitches at me for bringing up price, because that's supposed to be a rep's job. He calls my boss, and shits all over me. My boss took his side, and shits all over me too, so I'm like, fuck you, I quit. I sent a very lengthy, detailed letter to HR explaining how the sales rep fucked up, lied to the customer, and how the sales manager and my boss tried to make me the scapegoat instead of trying to fix it, which would have been easy and made everyone happy. I move on, get a new job, do other things. At some point, I'm chatting with an old friend from DTC, and he mentions they fucked up a huge deal that they spent a year on. I'm still bitter about the douchebag sales rep manager and my asshole boss, so I post about it on a forum a bunch of investors use. The stock crashed $13 the next day. This will be important later. I find out ABC is suing DTC for fucking up the deal that the douchebag sales rep manager fucked up, and tried to pin on me. I reach out to ABC, send them a copy of the letter I sent to HR, in which I detailed precisely how badly DTC fucked them over. I talk with one of their lawyers and he's very happy, especially the part in my letter where I describe how the sales rep lied to ABC. DTC subpoenas me for a deposition. I have to tell DTC's lawyers everything that I told ABC's lawyers. Lawyer stuff. The day before the deposition, DTC sues me directly. Remember DTC's stock crashing. They're suing me for badmouthing the company and attempting to short their stock, which I wasn't. However, there's a twist. Because DTC is suing me directly, I don't have to say shit to them at the deposition. Their preparation for the lawsuit goes completely out the window. They know they're fucked because they read the letter I sent HR, but they don't know how fucked because they don't know what else I know or what I've told ABC's lawyers. Additionally, because they never deposed me, that can't catch me contradicting myself between what I say at the deposition and at trial. They're dumbfounded. No idea how they could have fucked this up this badly. Turns out there were two legal teams, one defending against ABC's lawsuit and another trying to scare people away from talking shit about the company on the internet by indiscriminately suing their critics. They don't communicate with each other. And the one team didn't mention to the other team that they would be suing the key witness in their case. DTC settles the lawsuit with ABC, and they drop the lawsuit against me. And they fire the sales rep, the sale rep manager, and his manager too.
Next story.
So I found this guy a while back and have been sharing my story ever since. I see a comment on my article said that this would be a good place to post. I am not entirely proud of what I did to this man's life, but I do think it was justified. I do think that sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. This is the story of the time I ruined the life of an online troll. Now, this may sound extreme, however, I believe it was justified given the circumstance and nature of my encounter. To understand how I found this individual, I need to take you back to 2015. It was in 2015 that I would spend my days Googling pointless topics. One day, I decided to look up opinions on the meaning of life. I scrolled through various pages of search engine results until I came across the concept of nihilism. What is nihilism? Nihilism interested me because it was unlike any other belief I found on my search for the meaning of life. To put it simply, nihilism is the belief that the world is meaningless. It is a pessimistic approach to life, which suggests that there is no point in life because nothing holds real relevance. Nihilism can make people believe existence does not matter, therefore their actions do not either. Many people view nihilism as a realistic belief that opposes our human nature to seek significance. I wanted to speak to a real-life nihilist and hear their opinions on life. What I found shocked me. Nihilism explained. Nihilism on social media. Upon discovering nihilism, I joined several Facebook groups surrounding the topic. These groups were full of dark humor and memes that made fun of life and death. Comments such as, "Existence is misery," was common to see. In these groups, I came across a few genuine nihilists. The community was predominantly made up of people who were depressed, or people who would see the humor in depression. The nihilist approach meant that depression was not important, because nothing is relevant. This was why suicide jokes are a hit in nihilism groups. I found that the constant sharing of suicide memes meant that people become desensitized to death. People would believe that their existence is meaningless, which is not a good thought to have if you are dealing with genuine depression. I spoke to one individual privately who said they did not want to live anymore. They told me the world is not real, but my sadness is. The world is not real, but my sadness is. This made me realize that nihilism and depression are a bad combination. I reassured this person and told them they were important. A few months later, I went to get in touch to see how they were getting on, but I discovered that their Facebook account had vanished. Nihilist meme. Encountering the troll. Fast forward to mid-2016, and I get a Facebook notification from one of the nihilist groups. It was someone seeking genuine advice to kill themselves. They said they wanted their death to be peaceful, but they were scared. Upon checking the comments of the post, I noticed one person advising them to run into an oncoming train, as this would be painless and fast. The person giving the advice was the troll whose life I went on to ruin. For the remainder of this article, I will refer to the troll as Nigel to protect identity. At the time, I thought that Nigel was being edgy for the sake of it, but this was not the case. I thought back to the time when I spoke to the person who told me their sadness was real, that the world was not. The fact they had disappeared off social media gave me goosebumps. I assumed that the worst had happened and that this could become a reoccurring story in this group. I decided to look up posts and comments made by Nigel in the group. All the comments turned out to be methods for depressed people to kill themselves. Nigel would give people reassurance that death was the only way out. He would pretend he was doing the people a favor. A distraught man posted that he was ashamed that he kept failing to kill himself. Nigel told him not to beat himself up about it, and that if he works hard, one day he will be able to do it. Using Facebook as a weapon, I realized that Nigel was not your ordinary troll, and that I had to do something to stop him. I created a fake profile to contact Nigel. At this time, I had no intention to ruin his life. I just wanted to stop him ruining the lives of others. On my fake profile, I told him that I had seen his comments and that they could have a devastating effect. He replied to tell me that he did not care. Facebook troll. The first warning from my understanding. Nigel had the belief that depression was a weakness to humanity. It appeared he was on a mission to weed out the weak members of society. It was almost like he got a buzz from it, some weird kick that motivated him to do it that I could not understand. I warned Nigel that if continued, there would repercussions. He told me that he did not care and then blocked my fake profile. I logged into my genuine profile and checked for new posts by Nigel. A day later, I saw that he was back to his old tricks. He was, yet again, giving suicide advice to another mentally tortured soul. The second warning, Nigel had made a crucial mistake by not setting his Facebook profile to private. I was able to see every post that he had ever made. as well as the friends that he had. Nigel was a family man and made it clear on Facebook how much his wife meant to him. I decided that I would give Nigel his second warning. This time I would make it more personal. This time I wanted to put the fear into him. Within 10 minutes, I was able to find Nigel's home address. I decided that I would write a letter to his address. This letter was handwritten to add a personal touch. On the envelope, I addressed the letter to his wife's name, so that he would not be able to simply brush it under the carpet. The letter read the following: "Your husband continues to encourage suicide online. He provides methods of suicide for depressed people, and he must be stopped. Could you please let him know that this is his final warning? I will be watching." The letter was sent with the intention to make Nigel stop doing what he does. I thought that this would be the only way that I could get through to him. The more I thought about it, the more I felt guilty that his wife may be living in fear. This was something I did not take into consideration initially. My mission to stop Nigel clouded my thought, however. I knew this was necessary for the greater good. The final blow: it had been a month since I wrote the letter, and I had not seen a single post from Nigel. I thought maybe I had finally got through to him, but I was wrong. Another month had passed and Nigel was back at it again. I was disappointed, however. I was not prepared to give up. I reached out to the depressed victims to let them know they had my support. Nigel had to pay for his actions, but how? I decided to take a deeper look into Nigel's personal life. His use of the internet meant that his life was essentially an open book. I was stunned when I discovered that he worked at a care home. He was not someone I could trust in society to care for others. I knew I had to deliver the final blow. Nigel's LinkedIn profile revealed that he was a senior member at a care home. This care home was reputable and risked their reputation by hiring him. I dug deep to pull out a barrage of screenshots I had of Nigel's activity online. After some contemplation, I decided that I would get in touch with the care home via their Facebook page. I logged into the fake profile via a proxy and sent the screenshots. I did not believe that he was fit to be trusted with human life. A member of staff replied to say that the case had been handed over to the CEO. Facebook Messenger screenshot. The aftermath: a week later, Nigel was no longer on the company website and had also removed the care home from his LinkedIn page. It was clear that his actions had caused him to lose his job. Nigel's relationship status on Facebook had changed from "in a relationship" to "it's complicated." In almost an instant, he had lost his job and damaged his relationship with his family. Nigel had completely stopped posting on Facebook and eventually shut his Facebook account. This guy's life was turned upside down, and it all stemmed from his actions online. I have comfort in knowing that he will never encourage suicide again. Everybody has their right to an opinion, but nobody has the right to prey on the vulnerable. Do I feel guilty? Of course, but then I remember all of those people that he sought to destroy. This man was in a position of care. What if my actions had saved the life of someone? It is these thoughts that make my guilt fade away.
Next story.
So, this story might be a bit long. All right, so I am Wiccan, aka not Christian, and I'm pretty open about it. Now, this got me in trouble when I was younger, specifically in the 4th grade. I was bullied heavily in school for this, since I lived in a predominantly Christian area in the South. Note my town is literally only 900 people. This means everyone know everyone. The bullying started typical and manageable, being called names and having my stuff knocked out of my hands. The only thing that really got under my skin was when they'd call me a Satanist or a devil worshiper, but even then I'd just brush it off since I'm neither of those things, and I'd even correct them on what Satanism was. This might have made it worse for a bit, but I had fun doing it. Well, one day I guess I must have done something these kids really didn't like, because they managed to talk their older siblings into following me home to beat me up. Some of their siblings were seniors or even graduates. 3 of them were legally adults. This is especially important. As a kid, I have no sense of danger and just took them following me as them going the same way. But I was still moving pretty fast because we just got a Y and I wanted to play Mario. Well, I managed to get to my yard, but not much further than that when my backpack got grabbed and was pushed to the ground. These teens were now beating me, and they weren't pulling any punches either. Well, I guess my mom heard the noise and came outside. They ran off after that. My mom picked me up and had to take me to the emergency room. I had 2 fractures in my nose and a broken arm. This meant I couldn't play the Wii until it healed, and the police were called while I was there. Remember how I said I reached my yard? Well, we had cameras that caught most of the assault and caught almost all of the teens' faces. The ones who were 16 and under mostly got a slap on the wrist, and that was that. There were about 7 of them, I think. Not all were hitting me. Some were recording. But the ones who were 18 got arrested and faced some heavy prison time. Now there was this 17-year-old, who I will call Trashy Teen from here on, who managed to walk out of this after a few days in the county jail. My mom was not happy with this at all, since his birthday was about 2 weeks away, and he should have been charged as an adult. Now, like I said before, this is a small town where everyone knows everyone else, and my mom knew exactly where Trashy Teen lived and knew his parents. This is the point where my mom shared the majority of this story. I'd like to point out that his parents weren't nice people at all. And my mom definitely had more than one reason to despise these people, such as when they stole our Pomeranian from our yard, tied him to a street light, and hit him with a stick until he died. The fact that their son broke my bones sent her off the edge with this family, and I think the final nail in the coffin for them was actually bragging about how their son got away with beating up that heathen boy at the local stores and on social media. It didn't take too long for my mom to work out a plan in her mind, because later that week, she told me that she'd get them out of town no matter what. My mom is not a killer, though, and while she later did admit she was tempted to enact the plan much sooner, she chose not to make things worse if she gets caught. She waited for it 2 months. That is until summer break hit. Trashy family was not one to be quiet about big plans, since they loved to brag about having more money than most in the town, and would always announce when they would be going on vacation, where they'd be going, and for how long they'd be going for. This was it, Mom's golden opportunity. She made sure everything was set, checked around Trashy family's neighbors' houses for any cameras, made sure that she had a place she wouldn't be seen, and on the last day of Trashy family's vacation, as I said, they'd even announce how long they'd be gone. She went down at night and set their house on fire. This small town didn't have its own fire station. The nearest one was 45 minutes away. By the time a fire truck got there, the damage had been done. Most of their house was completely destroyed. Just like clockwork, that next morning they arrived to see the destruction. You could hear the screaming 3 blocks away. My mom just sat in her chair, drinking coffee and watching the Golden Girls. The reason I chose to write this now is because my mother passed away in 2017. This was when she chose to tell me the whole story. I didn't want anyone who knew her to read this immediately after her passing, so I waited a few years before sharing. Feel free to ask questions. I will answer them to the best of my abilities.